think the world needs people who can solve complex problems now more than ever.
Would not have been able to land the type of job and fulfill the type of role that I wanted to without the MBA. So in really simple terms, it enabled me to get the job that I have now.
The MBA really gave me the opportunity to think about where I want to go in life.
Doing the Cranfield MBA brought me right up to being able to walk into a bank like JP Morgan and expecting them to hire me as a VP.
With the MBA program, you have better opportunity to influence others. It's been one of the best things that I've done for myself.
The main thing that Cranfield MBA really gave me was different perspective on how to look at a business and how to deal with people.
I think if pre-MBA me were to meet post-MBA me, she'd be really proud.
Welcome to that session. Hopefully that video has put you in the mood. We're very keen to hear or to have your applications for the MBA here at Cranfield. Thank you. My name is Toby Thompson. I'm studio director here at Cranfield's glorious Grenville Turner studio. So thank you. And I'm joined on the sofa by Lauren. More from Lauren in a second. Just a few housekeeping points to begin with, if I may. This is an interactive session, so we do want your text chat questions pretty much at any time throughout the sessions, but only text chat. So we're just going to do text chat. You know Zoom. How many Zoom meetings have you been in today? So find that Zoom chat, type in a question, a challenge, or an observation. Pretty much anything. It's going to be an interactive lecture. So we're very, very keen to hear from you. We're also joined by Helen Knight, MBA Business Development Manager here at Cranfield, whose name you will see in the text chat. And Helen may actually answer one of the questions that you've got in the text chat. So expect to see Helen. We're also joined by Ellie in the background as well for any queries about the MBA program and pretty much anything regarding that. This is a recorded session, so if you're watching the recording, you missed a fantastic chance to ask a live question. But we want to keep the conversation going, so this is not the last chance. You'll get plenty more chances with that. With that, hopefully you're settled in, you've got the drink, you've got your pet on your lap or whatever you have to get comfortable. We want to kick you off, and I'm going to pass over to Lauren now. Lauren, you're on the MBA team, as I understand it.
I am indeed.
I think you're more than just on the MBA team. Something tells me that. But you've talked before about choosing an MBA being a very personal decision. Tell us more about what's unique at Cranfield on the MBA.
That's absolutely right. It is a personal decision. I often say to people that all the MBAs at a certain caliber are good MBAs. You get a good experience. So the question is about finding the one that's right for you, right for the type of career you want, the right type of transformation you're looking for. And Cranfield has a really unique personality to it. And I think for those who do join the Cranfield MBA, they become part of the MBA family. They become an evangelist for it because it was right for them. There are a couple of points about what makes the Cranfield MBA unique. I would say you've got to remember the heritage of the school. So it's one of the oldest business schools in Europe. It started sort of over 50 years ago. It followed from Cranfield School of Aeronautics in post-Second World War to get the post-war economy going. And it absolutely stays true to its heritage there, and that really strong depth of its alumni and its history in providing education. It is the only postgraduate university in the UK, the only dedicated one, which means two things really. It means you actually, from the students we have, they tend to have more experience, tend to be more senior. We don't have lots of undergrads wandering around the campus, and it means you have a more senior conversation, more experience in the classroom. And in terms of experience in the classroom, of course, the other part of that is the faculty. We have incredible faculty. You'll see some good stats about them in a moment. I've got to lay that little nugget in there. They are amazing. They've come from industry. A lot of them are still, 70% of them are still active industry in governments now, shaping policies. And it means everything we do has a real world application. And you're going to see that in the conversation we have with Mikko later today. And all of this means it adds up to a unique learning experience. You add that together, you get a personality that is uniquely Cranfield. And I think that's one of the things that we end up, that people end up loving actually about being at Cranfield.
Well, you mentioned metrics there. That's a bit scary. I guess everyone on the call will have seen a ton of metrics from all the competing schools there. Tell us more about these metrics. We
have statistics coming out of our ears. There are a lot of metrics, and I won't go through all of those because everyone can read. And do you know what? Every university and MBA has great statistics. I've pulled these out because I think they're really true to who we are. Cranfield always is in the top 10 in the UK. We're very well reputed. It's a very old MBA, one of the oldest in the world, I think. One of my favourite statistics is we are 6th in the world for teaching power and influence. What that actually means is that analysis was done by the parts of the Financial Times rankings with the business school teaching power rankings. They looked at how other business schools were using textbooks and teachings and case studies from other schools. And basically it means that we're 6th in the world for the way other schools are using our textbooks.
They're teaching us stuff.
They're teaching us stuff, absolutely. People in Harvard and everywhere are using Cranfield textbooks. And it shows the quality of the academics and the faculty we have. So it's a really strong indication about the experience and the conversations you have here. A recent statistic is from American Economia, that's a mouthful, 5th in the world for innovation and entrepreneurship. And I like to highlight that one because I think it's a really nice recognition of the work that we have as part of our Bettany Centre for Entrepreneurship. We have a dedicated entrepreneurship centre, and in particular, we actually, the director of the entrepreneurship centre is a lady called Dr Stephanie Hussels, who was actually the MBA director, and she left an enormous footprint on the MBA in the way we teach entrepreneurship, and that's part of the reason we are 5th in the world for it. Global #1 for the breadth and the effectiveness of the alumni network. What that actually means is because we're such an old MBA, we have MBA alumni everywhere. I heard a phrase from one of our team the other day that you never need to have lunch alone when you are a Cranfield alumni. There's always, wherever you are in the world, there's always someone you can send a message out to, and there will be alumni in that country you can speak with. And another statistic that's actually related to that is the fact that we're amongst the highest number of CEOs in global Fortune 500 boards. I think Cranfield CEOs at Fortune 500s run revenues of over 100 billion. But it'd be a bit more, I think, if you adjusted for inflation today. But that means when you're a Cranfield alumni, you can open doors that wouldn't be open to you if you weren't that alumni. We had an alum from this year just came with us. He joined because of the alumni network. His father had been a Cranfield alum, and he joined for that reason. He wanted to be able to LinkedIn someone and say, I'm at Cranfield, you're at Cranfield, give me a bit of your time, and it opens doors. Global top 19% for ROI. That means that we are a well-priced MBA, but also we earn that money back very quickly. So our 3 years out of an MBA, the average salary is $124,000, which means you do get that return on investment very quickly. And diversity, this is a good one to mention specifically now. We've done a lot of work to improve our diversity. It's a challenge across all MBAs everywhere. Normally it's very male dominated. This year we have over 50% of our cohort are actually female, which is a fantastic achievement. And it's really actually unusual for a lot of MBAs around the world. And I think part of that is we have an amazing female faculty teaching here, but also we have a Centre for Gender and Leadership and Inclusion here, and they pioneer things like the FTSE Women's Report, the Women on Boards report. So we've got a big history a genuine history in championing women's progression in careers. So that is, I think, part of the reason our gender diversity is at 51% now for this year in their cohort. The actual makeup of the MBA program is, you can see the detail here. What you need to bear in mind, and you can see this on the website, it starts with lots of core modules. You then have the opportunity to do elective modules, and then executive coaching and career development runs all the way through it. So for those of you who are sort of really reading into our website, you'll have seen that we have a new amazing program director for the MBA who's making a lot of changes already. One of the changes that you'll see from Dr. Leila Ananagan is the fact that this executive coaching has a lot more weight to it now. It ran throughout previously, but now there's more credits allocated to it. There's more work that you can do, and it is award bearing. And we've also got 3 pathways that are coming from that. As part of your electives, there are 3 potential pathways an MBA candidate can take. One of them is specifically for entrepreneurship. Another is the executive pathway, designed for those who are looking to run large corporations. And the other one is called the portfolio pathway, which is more for those who are thinking about a consultative career, who want to get a mix of experiences to broaden their knowledge base. And I think that's probably most of the things.
Whilst you're talking there, or whilst you're thinking, can I roll you back to some of those stats? Monique has a question. Monique, thank you very much indeed for that question. That diversity women ratio, how many of those, and you're not going to know the answer, I don't think, but how many of those are Black and Black Caribbean, roughly?
Oh, I don't know. On average, we have about 17 nationalities on each cohort.
17,
17,
wow.
17. Do you know what? I think actually Helen Knight, Helen is our MBA wizard on the chat, and Helen manages the applications and admissions for all of the people who come through, and she has done for many, many years, and she will absolutely know the answer to this. So I'm pretty sure Helen will have the answer for you. I just got to
say, Helen's prowling in the text chat. I've seen her already. So if you've got a question like that, Monique, hopefully Helen's going to come back to you. Helen, sorry to dump that on you. But please carry on. Oh, look, Helen's come back already. 7% of the cohort are Black or Black Caribbean women. There you go.
We knew Helen would know.
Monique, thank you for putting us straight on that. So you had some more slides, or more stats for us.
More stats. Well, and the only other thing I think I'd mention from the programme is the international aspects. That tends to come in the second half of the year. We used to have, in fact, this cohort this year are continuing to do the international business assignment. Actually, we're making that bigger and better for this year coming. So that's something we'll be releasing information on soon. But actually, there's going to be a lot more time spent abroad this year. And that will come in the second half of the year. The first half of the year, you spend a lot more time in lectures and classes. The second half of the year is spent more with learning groups and working on more real business projects and consultancy projects. I would say, I think most things I've covered. The only bits that probably haven't covered is the extracurricular stuff, which is the bit I probably know a bit more about.
The fun stuff, you mean?
The fun stuff. Well, it's all fun. It's all fun. It's all transformative. But we have got amazing access to extracurricular type things that Cranfield, because of its heritage, opens its doors to. So there's something called the MBAT, which is my personal favourite. It's essentially the MBA Olympics, and it's invitational only, so not every school gets to participate in this.
Are you a gold medal winner?
Oh, I dream. I could have done something. It's not all sports, but it's lots of hundreds of MBAs around the world gathering in Paris, and they compete, they network. It's everything from chess to usual sports to battle of the bands. I believe we didn't do so well on the sports last year, but we did win chess or came third in chess.
Ooh.
So I think chess and truck simulating we did well.
Of course, why not?
So you get opportunity to do things like that as well. There's the venture capital investment competition, which is a big entrepreneurial competition. We have a huge history of doing well in that. Actually, last year we were in the final 6 and we were the only non-North American team. So we reached the global finals. I think that was North Carolina. If I'm wrong, Helen will correct me on the text chat, but I think it was North Carolina. And we were in the top 6 globally for the venture capital investment competition. There is prize money as well for that. And there's so many activities that Cranfield takes part in that we're able to do because we have been running for so long. And it's the sort of thing I think our new students and alumni would be able to talk some about their favourite experiences that they've had. The only thing I think I haven't mentioned on this particular screen behind me is the bursaries and scholarships available. The advantage of having a huge alumni network is the fact that we have a lot of alumni funded scholarships. There are all sorts, so do have a look through our website. We've got regional ones and industry themed ones, women's ones, diversity themed ones, entrepreneurship themed ones. So the advantage, the thing to bear in mind with that is to apply early, because scholarships do get used up. So if you're interested in those, talk to us. We can help advise on what would be the right one for you, what the requirements are. But the earlier you apply, the better your chances of getting access to one of those scholarships. I've gone through a lot of stats, fair bit about the programme. It's a lot of information. What I would say is, if you're going to take anything away from what I've just gone through, it's these 5 key words. Transformative. Now, that can be marketing fluff. Marketing loves to use the word transformative. We use it at Cranfield because it's absolutely true. You hear it naturally in the words when we talk to our students, to our alumni, to our faculty, to our staff. It comes up organically, and that's because of these next keywords. It's transformative because it is an immersive 1-year experience. You are on a beautiful countryside campus. You have a dedicated safe space to explore your development, explore who you want to be. And that does mean it's a pressure cooker. It's an intense year, but it's immersive. And that will absolutely shape who you go on to be. The connections with business is another reason. We have real connections with business because our faculty are still working with business. We have those senior cohorts, real business connections. We're also the ambition of the school. We are one of the top 10 Financial Times schools in the UK. We've been running for decades, hugely ambitious school. And as I've mentioned before, Fortune 500, one of the most highest amount of CEOs on Fortune 500 boards. So we've got that huge ambitious heritage and leadership focus, the executive coaching and very personal insight that we focus on as part of the MBA is a huge reason that we don't just churn out the same alumni every year. Everyone's transformation is very personal to them, whether it's moving industry, job, country, building their confidence, the way they see the world. One of our professors, Stephen Carver, I heard him beforehand saying, when people start at an MBA, they have a small view of the world based on their experience. And when you do the MBA, your vision opens up 360 and it changes the way you see the world. And you can't undo that 360 vision once you've gained it. And that the combination of it being immersive, connected, our ambition, our leadership focus on your own personal brand is what makes Cranfield so transformative. I think, yes, I mean, there'll be ticker tape going through, I think, underneath, but a little reminder now while this slide is up here, we are actually having an event on campus. We are going to be doing that in November. So for those of you interested, appreciate that depending on where you're dialing in from, it could be quite a way to travel. So we are actually going to be sending out information afterwards about this event. For those who are interested in the MBA, we are going to be offering a travel reimbursement scheme. So for those who do apply and are accepted and join us next September, we'll actually be able to reimburse the travel spent getting to this event. So we can provide more information on exactly what's covered and what's not later in the chat and via email, but don't discount coming to see us on campus, because as Toby and I were discussing, it's a personal choice. You've got to enjoy the vibe of the campus. You've got to enjoy the experience. It's a very personal choice. So we'd encourage you to make the most of it and come and meet us, come and meet our amazing faculty, and we can help with the travel when you join us in September.
Brilliant, Lauren. Thank you so much indeed. There's so much you covered there. You will see in the text chat that Ellie's put in, thankfully, thanks Ellie, full-time program details, MBA scholarship and funding details, which I know quite a lot of you will have questions on. And that transformation conference that we just heard about there, that's also in that link. So please follow that link. Also, you talked about transformation and immersive and connectivity and ambitious and leadership focus. I want to ask later on in this session, Stephen, Tanya and Shakira. Tanya and Shakira are currently in lectures, would you believe? So these are current MBA students. These are real students. They're not actors. So you can ask them questions about what it's like. And Stephen was an alumnus back in 2017-18. So he has transformed. I'm keen to hear, Stephen, how you have transformed. You talked there, Lauren, about the personal decision. I'm keen to pick up on that point. It's interesting. We were talking about how we would do this session going forward. We've got a lecture coming up, but we thought we're not going to do a lecture. We're going to do a discussion. And it ties into pretty much what you said, Lauren, about decisions. And we're joined, very thankfully joined by Mikko Arevuo. I'm not sure if I've got that, sound a bit too French there, but Mikko, I think you have a Finnish background. I think your name is Russian, if I understood that correctly. So we're very keen for you online to sample something of what it's like to be on an MBA program here at Cranfield. This more discursive, more discussion-based, to help you at least make that decision. You've got a big decision coming up. You're sitting on that those facts right now. So we're going to be talking to Mikko about decisions. Mikko, I've got a first question for you. How many, this is a bizarre question, how many decisions do we make a day? Can you even quantify that? He's thinking about it.
Go for it.
Well, anyone got a question?
Are we guessing?
Yeah, go ahead. How many? Put in the text chat. How many decisions?
Yeah.
Is it 10? Is it 12? And you're going to be thinking, what type of decisions? How strategic are they? Or is it like, what should I have for my dinner tonight?
Surely it depends on the weekend. Sunday, my brain is not that active.
You never know. Type something in the text chat, and we want to hear what you think. How many decisions do you make in a day? So do that. So whilst we do that, I'm going to have Mikko answer that question. You can see already that Mikko's got some slides here.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this session. Helen was talking about the international faculty at Cranfield. And as you can probably tell from my name, is not a British name. I was born in Finland. I was educated in the United States at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and I was an economist for a very long time. But I came to Cranfield to do my MBA and finally do my doctorate here. And I'm in the strategy group at Cranfield. So anyway, so let's get some points on how many decisions we make today.
Put us out of the misery. You're going to say 20, maybe even 50.
100.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Too many to count, Russell is saying. So
yeah,
Russell,
well, it's about 35,000.
35,000.
It's about 35,000 decisions we make a day on average human being.
You're kidding.
And
35,000. Okay. Wow. Sorry, Russell, but that's kind of what you said, Russell. Too many to count. Not quite.
So what we do here at Cranfield is that we are beginning to look at how do we improve the overall decision-making processes in organizations. So organizations do not, of course, they will make about 35,000 decisions a day, but there might be some very important decisions that we come about. And what we have focused on is to think about the major decisions in organizations that are important, that are very much of a major decisions that impact the organization. And how do we make these decisions is based on two different things of looking at things. Are we going to be looking at economic decisions, or are we taking into account the individual, the cognitive biases that we may have?
So Mikko, can I ask, when
Yeah.
you say 35,000 decisions, are you talking about 35,000 strategic decisions, or is it? And it sounds like you're implying a hierarchy of decisions here. Have I got that right?
We're talking about a hierarchy of decisions at the end of the day. In organizations, these decisions are life-changing decisions for organizations. They are not the sort of natural day-to-day decisions, i.e. how to order paper clips. But
Someone's got to do it.
Huh?
Someone's got to do it.
Well, yes, but of course they are very much standard. They are very much a routine decisions that the organizations make. What we are looking at here at Cranfield is how do individuals in a senior management positions have to take into account decisions that happen in ambiguous and uncertain environments. As you know, the world is moving all the time. We are living in unprecedented change at the moment.
Absolutely relevant right now. I mean,
Yeah.
the rate that things are changing in the UK economy alone, let alone the global framework that we've got, makes it pretty much impossible, surely, to make the right decisions. Is there such a thing as the right decision?
Well, that's a great question to ask. In fact, that there are very few right decisions. What is important is to think about the process that you go through in the organization. So let me give you an example. We have a British Prime Minister Liz Truss, who lasted in the office for 45 days.
Yep, we
Or
might
there-
just have Sunak now.
Or-
Is it
or
lunchtime?
thereabouts. Okay. We have an unprecedented war on our continent for the first time since the Second World War. So how do you make decisions in this type of environment? We have a massive increase in inflation that might have been the cause of monetary policies made in 2008. And my question to senior managers is that, how do we take into account all these things that are happening around us? How do we make decisions collectively in this type of environment?
And how do you pull in what is most relevant? I mean, the data there's no end of data there, but how do you pull in the right data to augment, supplement that decision? I guess that's the hardest thing in my mind, at least. And you must be looking at models, Mikko. I can't believe you're not looking at models to help as a guideline to how you do that. Am I right?
Well, if you put the thing on the screen there. So what we're trying to do is to visualize problems. So how do we make sense, and how we give sense in in environment? And this is very, very box standard.
What is this?
That's a causal map. It's a cognitive map that we are trying to understand in the senior management teams. What are the issues that we are dealing with today, and how do we visualize the problem?
And the challenge is as well, if you visualize it, then how do you prioritize it? Because surely not all of those post-its would be equal. Some would be more important, some would be higher risk, lower risk.
Well, if you put the map back again, yeah, I'm just waiting for the map.
There you go.
So what you have there is that you have a certain number of also blobs in the map, and what we know, and we have done research about this for about 10-15 years, and those blobs where the concentration of the very basic simple post-it notes are begin to show the importance of the decision. And let me put another one here. I mean, we can visualize this in this way, but at the end of the day, it is trying to make a visualization of what the issues are. And in this case, in fact, at Cranfield, what we're trying to do here is to understand what are the causes of success in the organizations, or in fact, causes of failure. And what I do at Cranfield is I have taken this map and start using that as a decision-making map.
Mikko, what do you say about people that would be adamant that I just make a gut decision? I just feel it's right. This is a decision I should make. I don't need to do the causal mapping that you're talking about. Is that wrong? Is that unrational?
That's a great question, Toby. In fact, that we find that most, especially small business entrepreneurs, they do not have the time or the willingness or the effort to go into this type of causal mapping process, and they make decisions based on that intuition. Now, intuition is great if it works well. Okay, but there is also an issue when the intuition goes wrong, and we may have major financial issues as a result of intuition going wrong. But yes, Toby, in fact, intuition plays into many accounts, and we find them in large organizations. Corporate managers make decisions based on intuition. And what we try to do at Cranfield is to bring some of this thinking to the students on the MBA programs, and warn them what might happen.
Warn them in terms of what? They may think that the only decision is a rational decision, and you warn them what? That they should consider their intuition, they should consider their gut feelings. Is that the warning?
Toby, you are asking some wonderful questions here.
It's an interesting topic. I mean, the audience here are thinking of making a decision about coming to Cranfield.
I think what we need to start thinking about the level of the intuition that we or the decision we have. If you are asking an organization to make a major strategic decision that involves financial commitment, management commitment, time commitment, and so on, something that cannot be reversed in a short term, then we need to start thinking about how do we process the decision making in the organization. Very often, small decisions, not a big deal. Let's go on intuition. But unfortunately, what we find is that many organizations and senior executives still rely on the intuition going forward on major strategic issues. And that's what we are trying to address on the MBA program.
So it sounds like you have some sort of spectrum, on the one side of which is complete intuition and gut feeling and a finger in the wind. On the other is super rationality. You're almost sciencing, if that's even a word. You're sciencing your decision. You're finding all the relevant information. And it sounds like you have a conversation or a discussion with the students somewhere in between that? Where do you sit? Is that right?
Yes, I think we human beings, we are rationally irrational.
Rationally irrational.
If I can use that, if I can use that term. So irrationality is something that we need to pursue. As an economist, I think that is a right way to approach a decision. But where the irrationality comes in is about the various different biases that we have as individuals in our organizations and in our lives. And we need to be aware of those biases.
So if biases are part of the decision-making process, how do you even become aware of the biases? Because a lot of those things by definition are subconscious. I don't know that I think this. How do you even begin to surface some of those biases that we have? What's the process?
Oh gosh, you are asking so many wonderful questions here.
Which the students would ask, which you guys would ask too.
Yeah, but the point being is that unless we understand some of these biases we have, we are not able to address them. Now, having said that, understanding the biases does not necessarily unbias our decisions. And let me give you 2 examples. So if I were to ask you, I don't know how many people you have on Toby on the chat.
Assuming thousands.
Okay, so let's ask you this: how many of you think that you are above average driver?
You mean quality of driving, safety of driving?
Yeah. Everyone thinks they're an above average driver.
Let's get some answers.
Who dare come off? Don't come off. You put it in the text chat. Are you a good driver? I'm sure you are. There's even a film that says that. I think Dustin Hoffman. Top 1 percentile, Matt is saying. And Russell say naturally. I'm naturally a good driver.
Yes.
Russell, I'm with you on that one. I'm naturally good.
I'm an exceptional parker. That is, I mean, I defy all gender stereotypes. I have nailed my parallel parking.
Forget about driving, it's parking.
Yes,
It's getting there.
Special skills.
It's not getting there, sorry, it's arriving there. Okay, so there you go, Mikko. So everyone's brilliant.
So everybody is a fantastic driver. That is statistically impossible.
What?
Lies.
To be
Russell, I'm
to
sorry.
be
I'm
an
sorry.
excellent driver. So number 1. And number 2 is that when I talk to organizations and managers, all of them, in fact, think they are better than the competitors. Of course, but it is impossible. And we think that we are better and we are more intelligent than the competitors, or we are more intelligent and more attractive and more beautiful and more intelligent than the other man. And that's impossible. And that is because we have a certain bias, and it's known as a escalational commitment bias. We begin to think that we are so wonderful, and then we escalate this thing. So if I may point one thing, Toby, that is actually quite dangerous, is that in terms of the escalation of commitment bias, that can result into organizations and also militaries to put more power and more commitment into losing situations. And I can, you will know as much as I do that what tends to happen. Companies push more money into losing situations rather than saying, I have taken the losses, I need to cut my losses.
So they're making a decision, they're saying, right, I'm going to put my money behind that decision no matter what, because I know it's the right decision. Is it?
Well, that's what you think.
Or is it doubling down, like all of these decisions, they don't exist in a perfect world, and we all have politics to deal with, we all have managers, well, unless you are the CEO. We have people to answer to who will want results and say, yes, I hear what you're saying, but no, make it work, make it. And you double down. And it's, if you've spent a few years working on something and it's not working and driving your strategy, how do you?
Can you back up? Can
you? Can you reverse? Can you reverse?
So Helen, what was the last time you were in a casino?
Yeah, I never for me, but
I have been in once or twice.
Okay. So how much did you spend at the casino?
Oh, I'm very practical. I go in for the fun, and I normally give myself a sort of a £20 allowance.
Boring.
And I lose all £20. So you know.
And what did you do after the £20?
I went home.
Oh gosh, you are more rational than most people.
I'm very strict. I know gambling is not my talent. I'm there for the culture of that particular. If it's part of that, if I'm on holiday and it's part of their culture, I'll go and have a little bit of an experience, whether it's horse racing or something. But I know also I don't know a thing about it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of money.
No, take that into the city of London or Wall Street. And if you're a trader.
Because you were a bond trader, right? Have I got that right, Mikko?
I was.
Yeah. Okay.
I was, indeed.
Big decisions there?
No, it was, Toby, it was very much of a seat of pants in those times. And of course today, the bond trading is quite different, and equity trading that the bankers have created mechanisms to control the human instinct. But if I can go back into the basic human instinct here, is that, and I'm putting aside the norms that banks now have, the human instinct is to double down. You're losing, and what do you want to do? You double up, and you spend more and more money, and what we find is that sometimes, and I'm not making any comment about any bank or a financial institution, but the human instinct is to spend more and more and more, and not take those losses. And that's a very fundamental aspect of our being as human beings.
And before you know it, you've doubled down, as you said, Lauren, and you can't reverse. Hubris or something, you haven't got the strength of character to say, you know what, I made a wrong decision there.
Surely there's, and this is part of the reason we spend a lot of time on the MBA looking at the type of leadership that suits each individual, because part of the challenge is, surely, let's say you do your cognitive map, you review the situation from a 360 review. It still takes a strength of leadership to say, okay, the data is telling me this, to then change direction, or to stick with your intuition, or it's not, so many personalities will come into play. It's one thing to have the data, it's another thing to make the right decision, the art of the decision, surely.
If I can come back here.
Surely.
Very often we don't make the right decisions. And what we're trying to do at Cranfield is to say, how do we improve the decision-making process? So how do we deal with the information we have today? How do we improve the quality of that process of considering the decision issues? Strategic decisions usually do not materialize until 5 or 10 years from today. But what we can do is to work with our MBA students of saying, this is the stuff we have. How do we improve the process today?
Okay, that ties in perfectly to Russell's got a fantastic question. Russell, we've got you thinking, so that's good to hear. Russell's saying, how does Cranfield help explore the softer side? Because you talked about intuitions and gut feelings, the softer side of management, leadership, decision making, and in some way we have to overcome human tendencies. Is that right? Is Russell in the right way? How do you do that? You mentioned processes there. What do the MBAs walk away with, I guess, is the question.
I can also add a little bit to that. I mean, obviously, it's not to Mikko's speciality here, but the wider course. I mentioned that executive coaching that is throughout the course. That is all sorts of different modules, personality tests, organisational leadership skills, a lot of it. And actually, I think this would be a better question if you come and visit us or book in a call or join, in fact, an event that has our MBA director can go through specifically maybe what some of those modules are. But that year-long executive coaching and career development module that is now award-bearing, is credit-bearing, is all about your brand of leadership. And I think it's acknowledging that the academics and the theories that you are learning don't operate in a vacuum. You've got to apply your own skill set, your own strengths. And I think there's a lot about how you understand your strengths as a leader to amplify those, and then to how to build teams that maybe work with your weaknesses. None of us like to admit we have weaknesses, but recognizing they exist, and how you build teams and cultures to support that and find the right environments to amplify your strengths. And Mikko, I think you've got a point on that one.
So, yeah, thank you. So the one thing I like to emphasize is that in our work and in my work, when we talk to executives, very often we find a mindset that is about what can I get away with in an organization. And what we're trying to do here at Cranfield is to have a mindset of executives, what we should be doing. And those two things are totally different. What can I get away with? And what should I be doing as an individual and as a member of society and an organization?
So, Mikko, can I come back to Russell's question there, because I don't feel we've answered it. How I think you have some slides there with some images of how we go about this, but how does it work on the MBA? Are you teaching people to find the data to make the decision? Are you teaching people whether to be intuitive or whether to be rational? How does it actually cash out?
So what we do is that we will work on on case studies, and we are trying to have students to visualize a problem. You know, there are tons of slides and lectures I can go through about cognitive mapping, and this is not what we're doing here today in the studio. But I will also ask students to think about the morality and the ethics of the decisions they make, and I think that is fundamental. Very often we think about purely on the profit, which is fine. You know, all organizations have to make a profit to be able to survive. We need to think about the organizations, how they feel in terms of attracting people into them, how to keep people, good people in. But there's also an ethical and moral dimension to anything we do and all the decisions we make.
So what's the connection then, Mikko, between making a decision and finding where you sit on that spectrum and virtue? Are you saying that people need to be virtuous in their decision making?
Oh dear!
It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Toby, you're going into philosophy here.
But we're talking about leadership and management here. This is serious decisions that people
yes,
are
absolutely right. I mean, we can go to Aristotle, we can go to Plato, we can go to the Socrates, and so on. Look, I think that there is something that has been missed based on my experience in the financial services, that we have lost the sense of virtue. And what I understand by virtue is leading a good life. And good life should be brought back into management and in everything that we do in terms of practice.
This actually reminds me of a little topic. I mean, you're both philosophers. For the non-philosophical over here, sort of, I think I'd be tending to use the words like ethics, which is what you hear more in business than necessarily virtue. It reminds me, we actually had we run a Future of Everything expert series with some of our faculty here, which are actually, Ellie will probably pop them into the chat now. But we actually had one which was called, which was looking at sustainability. And it was led by Dr. Rosina Watson, looking at actually the role of business, how it used to be the case that businesses would run for profit's sake and then add on ethical measures, initiatives that are good for society, but they would very much be a nice to have.
A sprinkle at the end, on
yes,
top of the
exactly.
cake.
And the way that businesses need to change, the role of business needs to change. It exists for the benefit of society in some way, and profit is simply the vehicle which they use to deliver it. Mikko, I can see you desperate to chip in there.
So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, coming from the strategy group, we always emphasize a profit in organizations. But at the end of the day, how does a modern organization earn profit? And our belief is that those organizations earn profits by being good citizens, and that takes into account what Dr. Rosina was saying, is being a good citizen. That's the way you invite clients in, and you also invite employees in. If you are an organization that does not play the game that is accepted by the society today, then you will lose.
It implies we're operating on a level playing field, though, because what happens if you change your business model and you say, this is the way we are going to run our business, and actually there is another competitor who is a little less ethical than you, who doesn't believe in that virtuous business world and is going to think, great, this is my opportunity to cut from underneath you, seize my business advantage.
And would you be willing to pay a maybe 10% less for a product that is being produced by a company that does not meet your ethical standards?
Yeah.
Well, you see it. Well, you see it now, actually. So I'm sort of in fast fashion. You see people who are sort of. I've just come back from holiday where there was a sort of a big sort of clothing markets of I saw lots of shops for genuine. I think it said real, genuine fakes. That's what they were called, and you could all sorts of qualities. But obviously, it's one of those things you're looking at this thinking this looks like a good shoe. I can't believe it's a third of the price that I would see it in the high street. But obviously, it comes at an ethical cost.
And you were tempted to buy it.
I did not buy it. I did not. But there's that, and it's that balance between what you can afford, what's a luxury for you ethically, or a luxury for you in terms of what you have money for. It's a balance.
I got a question, and Russell, this is on behalf of Russell, I'm going to rebirth my inner Russell. So Russell, thank you very much indeed. Russell's loving the philosophy and loving the softer side of what it is that Cranfield does. But Mikko, what are you expecting from an individual coming on an MBA? Are you expecting some sort of philosopher, some sort of rapacious capitalist? What qualities do they need to have to go through your lectures at least? Open-minded, I'm assuming.
That's Russell.
Russell, yeah.
So Russell, a great question. I'm a capitalist, and I believe in free markets, and I also believe in the Scottish Enlightenment of 1776 by Adam Smith, who talked about the beauty of free markets, and but at the same time said that there has to be a moral basis to the way we operate. So I'm not expecting you to be a philosopher. I'm not a philosopher. I'm an economist, and I come from a economics background. I look at the free markets. I believe in profit, but at the same time, I think what we need to do is that we need to bring in some of these moral issues into the classroom, and very many business schools purely focus on the profit. And what we're trying to do at Cranfield, at least what I try to do at Cranfield, is to have that type of debate.
And I would be remiss if I didn't actually link back, because I think that's a perfect connection with what I was saying beforehand about the type of university that Cranfield is. The fact that it is postgraduate, we do get the experienced cohort, which means you are able to have that sort of conversation using different experiences. We have, as a general rule, compared to a lot of MBAs in the marketplace, a slightly older average age of our cohorts. But that means you get people who've worked in different industries, different roles, different seniorities, and you are able to, I think, get stuck into, have more opinions. And when we're looking at people's applications, we're very much looking holistically. It's not just about a GMAT score. It's not just about what your job title is. It's about what we think you might bring to the conversation in the classroom.
As maturity means maturity, because then you get the chance to talk to Mikko, who's come from industry. So it's not just academic wheel turning.
Absolutely.
It's real application.
If it's not got a practical application, it's not the sort of thing we focus on.
That's not the point.
We're close to business for a reason, and it's got to have real world application. Even though I've been on the receiving end of it just before we started, having a chat with Mikko, and Mikko's going, and what would you do about this? And I was squirming, not always comfortable conversations, but it makes you think much more differently than you do normally, and it's a privilege, actually, I think, to get the opportunity to have a safe space to think, to explore different ways. And that's the beauty, I think, of having an MBA, is that time to explore that you just don't get when you're on the treadmill of work and life.
I know what you mean.
Just don't get a chance.
I think that's a great comment, because when I talk to students, I very often ask them what it is that you believe in. What is your fundamental belief? And
can they answer that question? I guess maybe they can't always answer that question.
That's what we have here. That's what we have Cranfield. That's why we have the MBA program.
Wow.
To be challenged on that basis.
Wow. Russell, if you're feeling that dull pain in the base of your spine, it's because you're thinking about some of these things, and we want you to do that. So if that's something of interest to you, we want to hear from you. Also, we heard from that video at the beginning, we heard if only the pre-MBA could speak to the post-MBA. I love that. I
like that as well, because actually it speaks to the transformation. It's almost like there are two different people. It's whether it's confidence or the mindset. Those are different. You are fundamentally changed. There's a fabulous quote about transformation, which talks about it's different to learning. It's not just about learning things. You can learn things, move on, forget things. But once you are transformed, you do not go back. You can always add more learning, you can always add other things, but you are fundamentally changing the way you see the world, the way you operate in business, the way you interact with business. There's a line we use, which is transform yourself, then go and transform the world. And you need that fundamental shift in order to do that.
No small thing there. On that note, can I just, Mikko, thank you so much for your time. Please stick around, because there'll be a ton of questions, I think, coming up. But I want to go to Stephen there, because Lauren, you've talked about transformation, you've talked about immersivity and connectivity and ambition and leadership experience. Stephen Coucher is joining us from Bath in the UK, and is an alumnus of Cranfield from the MBA in 2017 and 2018. I think that was right. So Stephen, any chance you could tell us, is Lauren making sense here? Have you been transformed? Tell us more about your experience.
Transformed, wow, gosh, I'm kind of wondering what the definition of word transformation kind of is in this context. Probably got less hair since I was studying at Cranfield, kind of a transformed.
Hair is overrated.
We do not give refunds based on hair loss.
But yes, no, kind of, but seriously, definitely. My kind of, to give a little bit of background about kind of my MBA story, I guess kind of mine is slightly different from kind of maybe the majority of cohorts. I decided kind of literally had an epiphany moment one day when I was working late in the office, boohoo, kind of don't feel too sorry for me, kind of I was a banker, that kind of it wasn't really the lifestyle that I wanted really for the next 10, 15 years. So I thought kind of how can I change this? And kind of I had a number of business ideas, and I thought that going to study for an MBA to learn the practical business skills and the knowledge to become an entrepreneur kind of was the way forward. So that's exactly what I did. I had a good look around, kind of as you would expect, kind of at business schools, kind of, and the practical nature of those business schools. And kind of finalized a list down to 3, kind of then 2, kind of one of Cranfield's big competitors, which I won't mention, and settled on Cranfield, really due to one of Cranfield's key strengths, which is entrepreneurialism. Anyway, getting back to transformation, kind of did it transform me? Absolutely. Kind of, I guess I went from a kind of kind of using the term kind of hopefully not in too much of a derogatory way, a wage slave working kind of a not 9 to 5, but maybe 7 to 7 kind of to becoming an entrepreneur. Had a fantastic experience at Cranfield. It certainly delivered into my expectations in terms of kind of teaching all of the elements of entrepreneurialism. Gave me the confidence basically to strike out on my own, and together with a female member of the cohort, a South African lawyer, ex-lawyer, we soon after we graduated from Cranfield, we started up our own company, and wow. That's pretty much what we've been doing for the last 4 years since we graduated. So professionally, absolutely a big transformation for me.
So your future business partner was in the cohort with you?
She is, yes, absolutely. Yes, kind of, I think kind of at the end of the year when we started the business, kind of we both kind of like had an honest discussion with each other and said, you know, if we had identified one person in the cohort that we wouldn't be associated with at the end of the cohort, it was probably her, and vice versa, me for her. But it just goes to show basically how you can form deep acquaintances, professional acquaintances, connections which stay with you, which you nurture and develop really over the year, and which stay with you, I think, throughout your career. And now, yeah, we're kind of very good acquaintances and obviously business colleagues working together on a daily basis.
Steve, if you had to give your pre-MBA a message or some advice, think back how many years, what would that message be to your pre-MBA self?
Yeah, gosh, that's a really good one. What would that message be? I think kind of the message would be, you know, don't put it off. Be bold, seize the day, do it today. You know, for many years, I had a burning kind of a desire really to strike out on my own. I guess, you know, being kind of a small cog in a very large machine, kind of working for a very large kind of American multinational, kind of, I always had that itch to go off and, you know, be the master of my own destiny. And I wish basically I had taken my own advice maybe 5, 6 years kind of prior to what I did. But I did finally do it, and I'm glad that I did it. But yeah, be bold, be brave, do it now, right, seize the day rather than do it later.
Okay, I've got to ask the question, and I'm asking you before you do, because I know you would. Steve, why did you choose the Cranfield MBA?
Very good question. I kind of put it down to 2, possibly 3 kind of like main considerations. I went to the open days of 3 business schools, kind of the 3 that I mentioned, basically that I had identified kind of would be a good fit for me. One of the first things that struck me about Cranfield basically was the quality of the faculty. I went to an open day, spent kind of the day at Cranfield, kind of met a number of the faculty, kind of a couple of the faculty did a masterclass just as Mikko has just done. And kind of, yeah, literally was struck by kind of, you know, not just the deep knowledge, the wisdom, the practicality kind of what was being taught, but actually, you know, the great industry contacts that many of the faculty members at Cranfield had as well. You know, they're not kind of necessarily always just full-time kind of academics and professors. these are individuals effectively that, still work in business, are connected with business, they consult with business, kind of, almost for some of them, kind of like teaching at Cranfield is kind of, something they do kind of above and beyond their day jobs, which means that kind of, they are bringing real world business skills, knowledge, practical advice, kind of, up to date, kind of knowledge of the way that their business, their sector works, technology in the workplace works. And kind of, that really came out, I think, during my time, kind of the day that I spent kind of with faculty at Cranfield. Another consideration was that kind of, I did my MBA maybe at a later point in my career than kind of other people kind of typically do. Kind of, I had spent 15 years working for financial services, pretty much in London. I very much kind of appreciated Cranfield being a postgraduate only university, kind of the cohort kind of within the MBA world at Cranfield, having probably above average experience, work experience than kind of other cohort members at other business schools, as well as being, I think, slightly more mature as well. That suited who I was, where I was kind of with my career, and also kind of kind of in my life. And, I think it does make a difference going to a business school that, typically kind of cohort members have anywhere between 5 to 8 years kind of like work experience. And that's not a prerequisite. Kind of, I'm sure Helen will tell you kind of what the actual conditions are now for entry. But, that really, I think, shone through as well during the year that, kind of the learning experience is not just from faculty, it's also from the cohort around you. You want to be studying with cohort members that have actually, already been through some challenges, kind of, different conditions, different positions, experience kind of like professional life in the workplace, and have got that wisdom to share with you, and not just learn from faculty. So kind of, cohorts at Cranfield very much have that profile to them. They're typically kind of, again, I think Helen probably will give you the statistic, but kind of, the average work experience, certainly in my cohort, kind of was over 5 years. And that was very valuable, I think, kind of for the learning experience. Very lastly, as well, kind of, I will mention that Lauren touched upon, and this was a minor consideration, but kind of an enjoyable one nonetheless. Lauren touched upon the fact that Cranfield has an aeronautical history background. Yes. Kind of interestingly, you may or you may not know, but Cranfield is the only university which has an operational airstrip. So the added advantage of being able to study sitting in the library and watching planes land and take off for a bit of an aviation buff was an added bonus. So, but
Steve, you should have been studying in the library, not looking out the window. You're obviously distracted by that, looking out the window. I've got to ask you, Steve.
Easily distracted.
I've got to ask you a question there, but before I do that, Helen, thank you very much indeed. Helen's just posted on there, minimum requirement, 3 years postgraduate work experience. Our cohort has an average of about 8 years. So that pretty much backs up exactly what Stephen's just said. Stephen, can I just ask you about Mikko? And the decision-making process. Just tell us, how do you make your decisions? You've made massive decisions since coming to Cranfield. How has that changed before you came to Cranfield and the decisions you're making after? They seem to be a quantitative difference.
Yeah, it's hard, I guess, to summarize, but the nature of a decision when you are running your own company, you're responsible for, ultimately the P&L and people's livelihoods is very, very much different from, when you're within a large corporate organization. Of course, you have huge responsibilities within a large corporate organization. But I think the responsibility, I feel the responsibility more heavily on my shoulders now, not just for my own personal success, professional success, but obviously people that rely upon us within the company and their livelihoods kind of rely on the company as well. So the nature of those decisions, kind of, I'm going to say probably I'm a little bit more cautious, but also kind of a little bit probably better informed as well, because I want to be sure that all of the decisions I'm making are the right ones, not just for the company, not just for me, but for everybody involved as well. So kind of, definitely the nature of decision making kind of changes, I think, once you become an entrepreneur.
Wow, Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Stick around, Stephen, because we've got a ton more questions. I'm going to move it on. I'm sure you've got questions too, but we're joined also by 2 current MBA students who I think you want to be able to give a chance to ask questions of, are we talking the truth? And what will the students say? We're joined by Tanya and by Shakira. And Tanya and Shakira, I literally have just come out of their lectures. So we're kind of keen to hear, if Tanya and Shakira, you're there, keen to hear what lecture you just came out of. And we're also keen to hear what is your MBA experience like? Is there that practical aspect of it? Is there, as Russell is talking about it, an emphasis on soft skills? Where Tanya and Shakira, hopefully you're there. Tell us more about your MBA experience. And they don't appear to be here. Tanya, if you're there, tell us more about your MBA experience. There you are. We can see you now. What lecture have you just come out of?
Actually, it's marketing. Just finished like 15 minutes ago.
Wow. How was that lecture? And what was it about?
Actually, we just start. So we just finished like our 4th session of marketing. Now we are like overview of marketing. So if you are not having a marketing background, so no worries of it. Yeah.
So have you got a marketing background? What is your background prior to Cranfield?
Actually, my background is fashion retail company. I was a store manager and also merchandise planner. I have slightly like did some marketing stuff, but not my expertise. So I can catch on like quite quickly, and the class have like many discussions, so I can learn from my other cohort, and our professor is also supportive. So you don't need to be worried if you don't have like marketing background.
Don't be worried. Shakira, can I come to you? How are you in the same lecture as Tanya and Shakira? Tell us more about your experiences so far.
Hi, I'm Shakira. I'm from Malaysia. Previously, I was a legal counsel for Coca-Cola. So I decided to take a leap and do my MBA. Like Tanya said, we just finished our strategic marketing course. We had a really interesting class. I have a limited marketing experience. So the professor, Professor Torakis, has been really, really helpful in introducing us is what are the strategic marketing are available in the market, how do we apply to, maximize profit, how to push your brands. So it is really amazing experience. Like Tanya said, you don't have to worry about being left out, because even there's lectures around, there's always a very helpful cohorts that have a lot of experience in the marketings that willing to share their inputs and willing to help you if you fall behind, if you don't understand something. When you're in marketing, there's jargons that you're not familiar with, and sometimes you feel like, oh, what is that? what is this about? And the cohort was like, oh, it's this. Sometimes it's just like holler you from like across the room. It's like, it's this one, no worries.
So Shakira, are you learning from your colleagues as well as faculty? Is it everything coming from faculty, or how supportive are your friends and colleagues around you?
They are very supportive. Like, for example, my learning teams right now, we are comprised of like 5 people, and a few of them have been like 15 years of experience. So I'm a little bit confused with numbers. So some of my classmates and learning teams are finance people who are very, very good at numbers. They have been really, really helpful. Sometimes whenever the professors have ask a question and they just contribute to what happened in their industry, in their companies, and had been, sometimes examples can be strengthens your understandings to what the theoretical that have been taught in the class.
Wow.
So it's been helpful.
Tanya, can I come back to you? Why did you choose a Cranfield MBA in particular? What was it about Cranfield that made you come here?
Actually, I applied for like 5 business school all in the UK, and I chose Cranfield firstly because the module. I compared here module compared with other business school, and I found that we got the most practical modules. Like some of business school, they got like I would say traditional MBA. Like they got module that you need to learn like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like around how to be like all the basic things. But here in Cranfield, I found that like some more modules is you can use, like definitely can use in the business world, the real business world, not only in for the organization, and also in terms like developing your soft skill and developing yourself also. Cranfield also provide like a lot of like consultancy for students, like career or executive coach, which is super helpful. And for me, like I have only like 5 years of experience before joining MBA, so they will help me a lot. This is first thing. The second reason for choosing Cranfield, because I also got a scholarship from Cranfield, which is based on my previous experience and my like future plan. And I can feel that Cranfield pretty value my experience and my like aspiration. So that's why I would love to be in here, and I also enjoy studying at Cranfield very much right now.
So Tanya, actually on that note, I mentioned earlier, appreciate you were in the lecture, but we've talked a little bit about the 3 pathways, the executive, portfolio and entrepreneurship pathways that people can explore. What is it that you want to go, that you want to do with your MBA after this year is finished? And have you decided what pathway you might want to follow?
I got an idea, but I would like to say that I'm not really sure about that, and I think it's not a problem at all, because I'm not the only one in the cohort that's feeling same as me. So I got a lot of like suggestion and advice from professor that you don't need to start like that early. You can like find yourself through the course, like, and some service support for students. So for now, I would say I would like to go to internship first, and then figure out what I want to do after MBA. And I'm pretty lucky that this year we also have like internship track for MBA student also. So for me, like personally, I love to learning through like doing, like I will be learning by doing. So I think I can find something great for myself, like during my journey on internship. And hopefully.
I think that's so. I'm really glad you brought that up, actually, because that is one of the big changes over the last year with Dr. Leda Allen-Hagen, who is the course director. She's bringing more internationality. Is that a word? International experience.
It is now.
More international experience into the MBA, the pathways, but also the internships are part of that. And it's the sort of thing we do encourage. I'm glad you've mentioned it now, because you're a month in, but it's so important to start that exploration as early as possible. And actually I'll double down on the word exploration there as well, because what you mentioned about not having decided yet, I think is wonderful. Actually, one of the things that you might have done your interview with her, Sarah Hatcher, who is the admissions director. She did her MBA here in 2016. I might get shot if I've got that wrong, but she has often spoken about the fact that Cranfield is a really safe space for that exploration. It is a really unique opportunity to try new things. It's absolutely okay to not have a plan already. Part of the exploration and the insight you do on the course is to explore what your future could look like and how you can achieve it. You don't have to have all the answers in term 1. So I think that's absolutely fine.
Shakira, I got a question for Shakira. And Shakira, if you had to give the pre-Cranfield Shakira some advice, now that you've been a few months in, what would that advice be?
I actually had my admission interview with Steven, actually. So he actually gave me like a really prompt, just enjoy, be brazen, like whatever he advised me, just go for it. So I actually take that advice and actually go for it. And so far the experience, just go for it, had been really, really useful, because, you know, we are dealing with cohorts with a lot more experiences. It will be a little bit intimidating to deal with people who have a lot of experience, have more challenges ahead they had dealt before. So I think so far, pre-Shakira would be really satisfied with where she is right now.
It's early days, so I think that's fantastic. The only a month in, would you mind, one thing we haven't spoken about yet is actually orientation week, O week. Would you be able to share a little bit about what you did in O week and how you found that?
Actually, the orientation week is a very a good sessions. We had a long week of orientation where we just discovering our talents. We did a lot of personality tests. We know more about ourselves, like how do we handle conflicts, how do we what are our needs, what are our leadership roles. And during the orientation week, there is some programs that was catered for the students how to settle in. So they give the previous cohort actually give advice to us to deal with Cranfield MBA throughout the years. And also orientation week is the time we actually establish our socials. Who do we want to be friends with? We discovered people personality, we make new friends, and we kind of, slowly infuse ourselves into Cranfield MBA so that when the course really starts, we are not, difficult to blend in into the whole environment. So I think the orientation week is definitely one of the best week ever here. There's no pressure. And it really opens up your mind for the new things ahead.
I got a question for Tanya. Tanya, can we get down to brass tacks, the basics? What's it like on campus? What's an average day like? And what's accommodation like if you are in fact living on campus?
Oh, okay. Currently I'm staying on campus. Actually, there are several places to stay on campus, and I chose it because it's more convenient for me because I'm from far away from Thailand. So the accommodation I chose is called Baroness Young Hall, which is the newest one here on campus. Yeah, and I like it a lot because I got pretty nice area, common area downstairs at my block, and also have my own room with my own bathroom, and also I need to share a kitchen, but a very few students using together, and it's big enough to fit 7 students in the same flat. So everything was nice. So actually currently I have class every day, start at 8:30. So I still have time to get up a little bit late, getting early, have a breakfast, and then just walk across the field from my room to building the SOM building. Everything was nice, and the scenery is also nice because now it's autumn, right? And there's so many trees are getting yellow and red, and things are beautiful this day.
It's beautiful. What time, you said it's 8:30 start. What time did you finish roughly in the afternoon or in the evening?
Actually, it depends, but the schedule is quite nicely arranged for students. So either we have class whole day from 8:30 until 5:45. We'll maybe have only 2 classes in the morning. So it's nice to balance your studies and your activities you want to do after class. Yeah.
And Shakira, can I just ask that same accommodation question to you? Are you on campus? How easy and how soon do you need to apply for that accommodation?
I actually live off campus. So I live in the Cranfield village. So it's actually a 25-minute walk to 30 minutes, depends on your own pace. They have their own walk path or a bicycle path from the village to the university. But usually I take the bus, and it's only take around 15 minutes from campus. And my routine usually, I wake up, have a light breakfast, take the bus, and then I make it in time to my 8:30 class. Other than that, my experience living in a village somehow provide me with some separations from studies, and also have an outside experience. not to mention, but right now my house is the hotspot for potluck party because some students live in the hall, so they have limited amount of like plates, fork and spoon. But because I live outside, some of the previous tenants have a lot of stuff they left behind, so they cook in my house. They had a party, so we actually have a monthly party at my house that between the MBA and also the MBA to MBA friends that help at my place. So I'm glad that I choose a place. It's really huge. I have my own space. I have my own bathrooms, and I like my core. Actually, like the place I live in.
As long as you're not always stuck with the cleaning up after the party.
Yeah.
With accommodation, we have a real range of accommodation. Actually, I'm delighted that Shakir and Tanya are doing two different options, because it's good to see the options available. We have everything available from sort of houses that can support families, because being an older average cohort age and a postgraduate university, we do have families who come to join us, but also we have flats that suit a range of budget, and we can live off campus. The trick with accommodation, again, it's the rule for most things: apply as early as you can, because you get first pick of the accommodation. You mentioned, I think, was it Tanya mentioned the changes of colours, which is lovely on campus, because campus is this beautiful green. It used to be a Royal Air Force base, I believe. So that heritage with the airport, the very cool branded Cranfield airplane, which I think might be a flying laboratory. Yeah. Things like that make it really unique. But you are also just on the edge of Milton Keynes, which is now officially a city. It got its city status earlier this year. But you're also half an hour from central London. On the train line in. You've got Birmingham, Manchester. I mean, the UK, for those who haven't visited before, it's hard to describe how small it is. So you do have the option of getting to sort of Europe. You're on the doorstep of Europe, as well as many cities in the UK. So you're in quite a good location to explore. If I can add one thing as well, which is a thing that I've loved when I work on campus, is at the end of the day, you mentioned what's the daily routine like. I'm quite often still at the office a little bit later in the afternoon, but we have a piano at the School of Management. Oh, yeah. And I absolutely love it, because in the morning I'll drive past the plane, and in the evening there's normally a student who's taken the covers off the piano and will be playing.
You play the piano?
I wish I do not. It's the best I do not, but I love it. It creates a really unique atmosphere, and
nice.
A little Cranfield magic,
Yeah.
I think, actually. I really, it's one of my favourite things, sort of when I'm in my office working away, about 6 p.m. I'll hear
That's
Here's
nice.
some piano starting to go.
Cranfield Magic, wonderful. There's just speaking of Cranfield Magic, I can't get away from thinking Helen Knight, the MBA wizard. But there is Cranfield Magic on the text chat there. Helen's just put up what you just said, apply early for accommodation. And Ellie's just also put up a social media link there, so too. We're going to come to the closing moments, but who do people carry on the conversation with in terms of coming on and getting the applications in?
Well, always book a call if you can with Helen, the MBA wizard. There is a link on our website where you can book a call. But actually, we mentioned the personal decision. Talk to us. I cannot stress that enough, because we're very friendly people. And I think it will give you a flavour of what Cranfield is like, and we can help you with your journey. If you want to achieve certain things in your careers, we can actually, we're very honest people. It's not a hard sell. We want you to have the right place for you. We can help you to understand if we're the right place for you to achieve your career goals, and help you explore your career and your transformation. So book a call online, Helen, but also, do you know what, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with Ellie on LinkedIn, follow us on social media, and register for that 26th of November event. We've also got a number of activities. We've got so if you want to do a little bit more taste of learnings, we've actually got an event here on Tuesday, the 2nd of November.
Wow.
That's with our entrepreneurship leader, Stephanie Hustles, the director of the Bettany Centre, is going to be talking about entrepreneurship at the heart of all business. So register for that. It's Future of Everything. Google Future of Everything, Cranfield entrepreneurship, and you'll find her. And probably Ellie will put a link in the chat in a bit. So just talk to us and experience everything you can.
Brilliant. I'm going to throw a curveball to Mikko if I can. Mikko, if you're still there, if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's just about to do an MBA, what would your advice be? This is going to be good.
Oh gosh, that's a curveball, Toby. So if you're looking to have a Cranfield MBA, you'll be coming into a institution. As was said before, we are very, very friendly. We are a big family, and it is an MBA that will grow you individually. So not only are you going to get a fantastic top of the world skills, I would probably say that, wouldn't I, as an academic, but you are also getting trained, or you will have the opportunity to explore whatever makes you tick, and that is regardless of the industry. Most of us also teach in the technology platforms, so you have an opportunity to explore both management from the, say, if you financial services, advertising, marketing, all the way down to technology.
Mikko, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to have to close it there. Steve, Shakira, and Tanya, thank you very much indeed for joining us. There you all are. Give us a wave just to say thank you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's really great to see you both, and good luck with your lectures, Tanya and Shakira, later on this afternoon. Steve, thanks for your insight there, and Mikko, likewise, thank you very much indeed for your insight into decision making. And Lauren, thank you very much indeed. Get in touch with Lauren if you haven't heard that news already. The studio managers today were Chris Ripley and Robin Hackett. The producers were Ellie Sharp and David Metcalf. We're going to leave you with a short video which is trying to get your motivational up and get that application into Cranfield. So we're going to leave you with that message. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. Stick around and watch this message.